All right, good evening, everyone. Well, good morning for some. I'm doing this pretty late because I wanted to wait for the 00Z models to come out. So y'all probably watching this early tomorrow morning. But tropical trouble is coming. We've been highlighting this on the supporter hub for about the last week and a half or so as we saw this pattern setting up for this time frame with this high pressure, basically this big Bermuda high up in the northern parts of the Atlantic, and then high pressure over the central part of the United States kind of creates a weakness down here towards the Keys and the Florida and Cuba. So that opened the door for a system to come in, and tropical trouble is possible especially in this area that National Hurricane Center has highlighted as a 70% chance of development, which I think will be a lot higher as we go forward. Okay, so let's take a look at the latest satellite picture here, and then we'll go into all the models and the spaghetti model plot, stuff like that. But if you're just now joining us or just starting to watch this video, please give us a like, that thumbs up button, comment where you're from, and or share this with your friends and family. And if you're over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It's kind of like liking a page or basically liking a page on Facebook. So hit that subscribe button. Hit all notifications. You'll be notified every time we go live. Also, we have winter weather outlook coming out in a few weeks. If you want to subscribe, it's going to be on the supporter hub. You can click the link in comments to support us. So we will have our winter outlook, in-depth winter outlook, in a couple weeks over in the supporter hub. All right, let's get right into it here. All right, here is the latest. Let me take this draw tool off so you can see. So down here, you can see right down here, just off of Haiti here into Cuba. Here's where the storms are really starting to erupt, and the National Hurricane Center is probably going to send some hurricane reconnaissance aircraft in possibly tomorrow. But as this system traverses through just the northern coast here of Cuba, gets over here by the Keys, it's going to encounter a lot more favorable conditions in the eastern Gulf of Mexico here. Off the Florida coast here, west coast of Florida, and then up towards the Panhandle. So basically, east central Gulf Coast, basically from Alabama through most of Florida, needs to be on high alert here. And this thing is could come across Florida and come over here towards the Carolinas. And there's some models that actually hook it back and come back to the Gulf of Mexico because of the stirring flow. Okay, so let's take a look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. All right, here is the latest from the National Hurricane Center as of the latest outlook here. So basically, a well-defined tropical wave is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the southeastern Bahamas and adjacent waters of the southwestern Atlantic. The wave is expected to move west-northwestward near or over Cuba on Friday, and then emerge over the Straits of Florida Friday night into Saturday. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for additional development after that time, and a tropical depression to tropical storm is likely to form this weekend over the Straits of Florida or eastern Gulf of Mexico near the Florida Peninsula. So like I said, as we get over towards the Keys of Florida here, and then up the west coast of Florida here, that's where this system is really going to probably strengthen. And could it rapidly intensify? It's possible, but we're experiencing very, very warm waters off the Florida coast here of 90 plus degrees. Basically the energy is there for it to basically explode. So tropical storm, I think, is likely. Maybe a low end hurricane. We'll just have to wait and see, because once these things get over the Gulf, especially if the environment is conducive for rapid strengthening, and we already have sea surface temperatures of 85, 90 plus degrees along the west coast of Florida. So this thing could overachieve. So need to be prepared. This is going to come in later this weekend and then early next week. Regardless of development, there is going to be a ton of rain with this over most of Florida. All right, so there is a 40% chance over the next 48 hours of this developing into a tropical system. And then over the next 7 days, which mostly it's over to this weekend, we're up to a 70% chance. And as you can see here, 70% chance of a tropical storm development, tropical development over basically the west or the eastern Gulf along the Florida Peninsula here up towards possibly the Florida Panhandle. So let's take a look at the latest models. Let's look at spaghetti model plots first. All right, so the National Hurricane Center is actually calling this Invest 97L. So more models are going to start catching up with this, and then once we get if we get a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft in there tomorrow, then there's going to be a lot more consensus on where this thing may go. But right now, it's kind of all over the place. Basically, going to take it right through the Keys, maybe Key West, and then up the western coast of Florida Peninsula here, and may go right up the coast and then head towards the Big Bend of Florida here. But that is the latest consensus as of right now. There has been models thinking that this Bermuda high is going to stay strong and won't break down as much, and the steering current is going to be kind of a little bit all over the place. 24 hours ago, it actually had a strengthening storm coming into Florida here, and then slowing down and stalling before re-emerging across the Gulf of Mexico and shoving it all the way west into Texas. So that was just a crazy run. I believe the GFS did that. I think the Japanese model did that as well. So a lot of things to watch over the next few days, this weekend and into early next week for sure. Across the Florida, basically most of Florida here, there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be a ton of rain regardless of development here. All right, here's the latest GFS for the probability of a tropical depression over the next, basically from tomorrow all the way through Monday. These orange colors, 70 to 80% chance of at least a tropical depression across this area. We go to tropical storm probabilities, especially as we get towards the western coast of Florida here, could be nearing 50% probabilities of at least a tropical storm coming in towards the coast. So this weekend into early next week is where we need to keep an eye on. Conditions will probably start going downhill, especially across the Keys as we go into early this weekend, and then across the rest of the Florida Peninsula as we go into later this weekend and early next week. All right, just to give you a sense of trends here, here's the Canadian, basically the same kind of track here. This doesn't hook as much up the eastern seaboard as the GFS, but this gives it a 50-60% chance of at least a tropical depression all the way up towards the western coast of the Florida Peninsula. All right, we're going to take a look at a few different model runs here. This is the WRF model on Invest 97L. See this little blip right here. This is where it thinks the circulation will be. Hardly nothing. So there's going to be a lot of disturbance or just bad weather coming with this. Storms, rain, maybe some gusty winds through Cuba, starting to get into the Keys probably, towards Key West even as we go later in the day on Saturday, or actually into early Saturday here. So as we go in through, this is Saturday afternoon, you can see where this low pressure is starting to get its act together, basically just west of Key West here. And then it's going to start strengthening pretty rapidly as we head into Sunday. This is Sunday at 7 o'clock. You can see we probably have a tropical storm by then. And then as we go throughout the day, this thing could intensify pretty rapidly and could be borderline hurricane as it possibly makes landfall into parts of the Panhandle. And then the WRF model is actually sensing that Bermuda high over the Atlantic Ocean could stay in place and not weaken any, and this thing could stall out, which could be very problematic and could have some major implications on flooding and a prolonged rain and heavy rain event, wind event across parts of Florida here. And I know a lot of people are trying to go on vacation and stuff, so later this weekend, starting Saturday, going downhill, especially in the Keys. We'll back this up. Here's the storm. This is right around Saturday afternoon. It's going to be lots of storminess, gusty winds, probably some higher seas and swells coming off into the Keys here. And as we go towards western parts of Florida, as we go towards early Sunday morning, this is probably going to be a tropical storm by Sunday morning, and then lots of storminess along the Florida Peninsula here with some gusty winds, and then this thing starts rapidly intensifying. My worry is these things like to blow up overnight, so this thing is getting close to the coast by 4 a.m., 7 a.m., on Monday morning, so this thing is going to intensify all the way to landfall. Okay, so that's my worry at the moment. But this WRF model has it down to a 979 low. All right, so that's just one model. That's just one track. WRF does a pretty decent job it's just one of many hurricane models out there. All right, here's the HMON model. On 97L Invest as well. You can see this is Saturday afternoon, a little bit further west. With this model here. And you can see it starts slowly intensifying as we go in through Sunday. So it could be a tropical storm by Sunday. It's way off the coast of Florida here, but still lots of rain and some storms coming in. And then it further intensifies and then basically hugs the coast as we go into Monday afternoon. So all of Florida, including the Keys, probably up towards probably the Mississippi-Alabama border, and then up the eastern seaboard, need to be on watch this weekend. Stay weather aware for sure, because we got to nail down where this track is going. But there is a lot of consensus right now where it's going to take it up the western coast of Florida here, and then drive it up towards possibly the Big Bend area, and then possibly with the WRF model, it's sensing that higher pressure is going over the Atlantic. That Bermuda high is basically going to stay in place, and this could stall it, which will be very bad news. Very, very bad news. This HMON model does the same thing, so that's very worrisome in regards to very heavy rain and prolonged heavy rain and wind and flooding event across this area. All right, here's the GFS. Basically has a weaker storm. This is 1 a.m. on Sunday morning. Barely even anything, probably a tropical depression, but then possibly strengthening just a little bit before landfall, possibly around Tampa with the GFS, Tampa Bay. This goes across the Florida Peninsula and then starts really strengthening it as it basically hovers over the Gulf Stream off the Carolinas here, and just kind of sits for a while. So if this happened, there's going to be very bad, basically high surf, swells coming into parts of the Carolinas here. Also, water rises as well, especially on the eastern side of this, or the right side of this system is going to be banking water up into the Carolinas here. So as you can see, it just keeps strengthening it. This could be if this happens, this could be a major hurricane off North Carolina here as we go towards the middle of next week, if this happened this way. And this could be a lot of storm surge or water rises as we go towards the Outer Banks of the Carolinas here. And then, so this could be a very bad scenario for them. And you can see this is all the way through Thursday, and it's just slowly meandering around. So major hurricane could stay just off the coast here, but affect the Outer Banks of North Carolina with possibly some hurricane conditions as we go towards the middle of next week, if this scenario played out like this. Okay, so that's basically the latest that we have for now. Let's take a look at one more thing really quick. Like I said, this thing's going to come up the western coast of Florida. Where it goes from there is a big question. Is it going to come into basically central Florida as a tropical depression, or is it going to stay over water, go up towards the Big Bend area of Florida, and possibly be a strong tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane by then? What's going to happen after that is a huge question. Is it going to slow down and stall and create a massive flooding situation, or is it going to go back over basically the Gulf Stream off the Carolinas and kind of meander around out there and possibly get up to a major hurricane status over the Gulf Stream and affect possibly the Outer Banks of North Carolina mid next week? So lots to stay tuned. There's a lot of information regarding this. We're going to have daily videos going forward regarding this on Facebook and YouTube. So please stay weather aware, stay up on anything. If you guys are vacationing anywhere in Florida over the next probably 5 to 7 days, you need to stay up on the weather here, because weather's going to be miserable regardless. Even if this thing doesn't develop, there's going to be a ton of rain with this. And actually, let me pull that up really quick so I can give you kind of an example. All right, so this is basically just all the models blended together, and you can see a solid 6 to 10 inches of rain over most of the western coast of Florida, into even the east coast, northeast coast of Florida here, or actually the northwest coast of Florida, the east coast, that is. And then even all the way back towards the Gulf Coast, all the way back towards Louisiana, could be getting on some storminess over the next week or so. And then this is just some of the models taking this thing up the eastern seaboard here of the Carolinas and along the coast here, could deliver a lot of rain if that scenario played out. Like I said, we have some models bringing it in and stalling it over southern Georgia into northern Florida as well. So if that happens, you can easily double, triple these amounts of rain if a system stalls out, tropical system stalls out. Be absolutely disaster. We do not want that to happen. We want it to basically just steer away, go up the eastern seaboard. And but Florida, you are going to get majorly impacted with this just by rainfall, regardless of development. All right, that's all we have for right now. Stay with us. We'll have continuous updates on Facebook as well. And we'll have daily videos going forward regarding this possible tropical system that's coming into the Gulf of Mexico. The next name on the list is going to be Debbie. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe and stay weather aware, especially on this system.